just to go back on something that I've noted in my years, that there are certain teachers who produce students who all sound the same. They all sound the same. And there are other teachers whose students all sound different. For me, I want to be with a teacher whose students all sound different. Well, then people can say, but where's the rigor there? Where is the pathway? Well, we've been down the pathway, and we're now branching out into you being you and you being you according to your depth of thinking. But for students who all come out of the teacher's studio, all sounding the same, I would say they're copying the teacher. It's to go back a few questions.
Now that's, I think these are very deep topics. I guess there's some things that you just have to experience, isn't it? To truly be able to understand.
Yes, and it's very frustrating because you have people in the profession. The profession isn't a perfect profession. Mistakes are made. Many mistakes are made, can be made, and people can be admired at whatever age for their ability to be strong-minded and expressive of something, which is their music. And I say their music. And a lot of people in the profession say, oh, wonderful, wonderful. First prize, first prize. Never had it played with such oomph. But there are other people who, again, it comes back to Nadia. It comes back to Nadia, who never, ever showed me how to play a phrase. Mark you, I wasn't being taught by her. I'd had my teaching, but it left me vacant. My teaching left me vacant in performance because I couldn't do what teachers wanted me to do. Because in performance, it was, I was just hanging on. It wasn't me. Nadia taught me to look behind the notes. Nadia taught me how to go into my head. Nadia taught me how to express the essence of the music as I perceive it, but as I perceive it with all the education and first of all the teaching and then the education. How do I present it? And that was a complete balance then. Oh, I've lost the question. What was the question?
No, I've lost the question too, I think. But I think I learned more from losing the question from you. In a way.
The big questions have to be asked, even when the answer can not be found or maybe can never be found. The big questions have to be asked. When was this written? We can find that out. There's a finite answer there. Why was it written? What is it that was written? Is it just the notes? Is it just a sonata form? No, that can be easily ticked off. But why does it mean that? And why do people sit in concert halls or listen on to videos, watch videos, and have different reactions to it when they don't know what a sonata form is, when they don't know this, they don't know that? And why can we listen to somebody and not get a good feeling from them and listen to somebody else and get a different feeling?
Yeah. Big questions.
The big questions.
Okay, I think I should ask you some of the questions that were presented to me by various people in the. So the one of the biggest questions I've had is about pedal playing. And I know a
About
lot of people. Pedal, use of the pedal.
pedaling. Hmm.
Um, and I've had a lot of people ask me about this, and I know there are a lot of students who don't even think about this. So I did want to speak about this because it's quite important. Um, it's quite an important aspect, specifically to the Baroque and classical eras, because during that time the pedal was scarce. So can you enlighten us a little bit on use of pedal? I know it's a very large question, but
The pedal, the sustaining pedal, belongs to the piano, the forte piano and the pianoforte. Chopin played the organ when he was in his youth. There is no sustaining pedal on the organ. Beethoven, I discovered this quite recently. Beethoven played the organ in the church when he was in his teens. There's no pedal on the organ. No sustaining pedal. Schumann played the organ. Mendelssohn played the organ. Schubert, I assume, played the organ because he sang in the cathedral choir, and I can't imagine anybody in a cathedral choir not wanting to play the organ at some stage. Train your students to play the organ. It's the fingers that sustain the notes. And the feet, if you play the pedal notes. It's not a sustaining pedal, it's a pedal notes. Then you can get what we call an organ point, a pedal point, a sustained bass note while harmonies are changing over the top. That's an organ thing. It happens in piano music as well. Use the sustaining pedal as little as possible and use it to help make legato between two notes. Help. Don't put the sustaining pedal down with a note and take it up when the next note sounds. But play a note, put the pedal down, and join the next note. So it's just down there for a split second. People like, and they get into a bad habit of putting the pedal down and holding it through different harmonies. Now, in certain cultures, you have that. With the sitar, you've got notes that go on and on and on, and you get the harmonics. We don't have that in classical Western music. So controlling the pedal is important. Learn to play without the sustaining pedal and only use it when you have to make legato.
what about using the pedal to create textures and colors? I guess that's more a romantic thing than a classical thing.
Only in the Romantics when the composer offers that, because he's doing arpeggios in the left hand. The arpeggio almost always follows a harmonic basis.
Okay.
But you've got to be careful. There's also the possibility of finger pedaling.
Yes.
Where your fifth finger at the bottom of an Alberti bass, da da dee da dee da dee da, dum dum, can sustain. Texture on piano playing is very important.
Yes. The second question I got was about harmony. The student had said chords, but I want to twist the question a little bit to make it a little bit more encompassing. Harmony in music. How important is it, and how do you build a good basis in harmony in a child or in yourself if you're an adult student?
Right. It is vital in classical Western music because mostly until we get into the 20th century, it's based on harmony, on harmonics. Harmony is the treatment of harmonics, an understanding of harmonics. When you get into atonal 20th century music, it doesn't matter so much, if at all. Now into 21st century music, we're introducing harmony again. We've also got fusion and interaction with other styles. How do we teach it? How do we get there? Your left hand. Fifth finger. The bass line is what teaches harmony. The melody does not teach harmony. It shows you how to decorate the harmony. But the left hand and the fifth finger of the left hand usually presents your bass harmonic note, whether it's a first inversion or root, first inversion, second inversion. That's the important thing. And you work harmony out from the bass line upwards. So any teaching that is based on melodic teaching is not so good. It has to be based on the fifth finger, the bass of the harmony. And when you play the bass of the harmony, then your melody is free to do its thing because it's decoration on the harmony. So it's vital.
Yes.
And if you teach harmony as you teach the music, there is no need then to have separate harmony classes, unless you're doing some yourself. But it should be part of the training of the music, the studying of the music. Has to be.
And what are your thoughts on improvisation? How vital do you think improvisation is?
Vital, 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 vital. Because that's you from your depth of being as a human being expressing what is there. Having the courage to express it, expressing it. And okay, you can't improvise in a style that you don't understand. But sometimes improvisation is taught through what I call improvisation in the style of. And I don't agree with that. What is the point of copying somebody who achieved a miracle just because Beethoven wrote this way, just because Mozart wrote that way? And actually, what way did Mozart write? He wrote in many, many, many different ways and manner. So how are you going to play in the style of, improvise in the style of? I think it's completely redundant. It's like one's appendix in one's tummy. Completely redundant. Get rid of it. Because it will make you ill. It has an appendix can make you very, very ill if it becomes inflamed and infected. And get rid of it. Improvisation in the style of. Why? Why? These people, these men and women who were produced the miracles of composition that they produced, were digging deep into their brains. And why do you just take a style? Because Mitali has a nice blue top on with flowers, white flowers on it. Everybody should do that. Because Norman has a multicolored shirt. Oh, that's what you do. It's got nothing to do with it. It's got nothing to do with it. That's just completely personal. The fact that we present ourselves well, politely, is important. But Beethoven wasn't polite. He was very rude to people. Maybe because he was very ill, because he had colitis or maybe even Crohn's disease. Does that make his music any different? I don't believe so. He had inspiration. Why should we improvise in someone else's inspiration? It's copying. So do not improvise in the style of, but use the mechanics of composition, of harmony, of rhythm to express yourself in the moment. It's vital, 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 vital.
And the last question, was from a
Yes.
child who has small hands and wants to know how she can get around small hands. It's difficult for her to stretch. And she's quite a thoughtful child.
The small hand, I don't have big hands, but the small hand has to develop into being a large hand. And that you do by exercising. And your teacher needs to introduce her to the world of Alicia de la Rocha,
Mm.
pianist, no longer alive, whose hand would fit into my palm.
That was how small it
She
was.
played big. She played big works. If you can use the muscles of your hand, not to remain big all the time, but to achieve greatness, bigness, you have a flexibility which will develop. The virtue of a small hand is it can get into a small space. The problem with a large hand is it doesn't need to think about becoming a large hand. It is a large hand, but it can never well enough get into a small space. Now, there's this whole thing, mysticism of hands. It's got beautiful hands for the piano. She's lovely. Oh, no. I know large hands who cannot play small units. And Gabi Kasatsu, whose husband I replaced, well, I replaced him at Fontainebleau in France. He had a huge hand. And Gabi said to me one day, after her husband was gone, she said, what do I find most difficult in Gaspard de la Nuit of Ravel? Ondine, which is full of that, or Scarbo, which is full of that. I said, well, I found that most difficult because I don't have the large hand. And she said, my husband was exactly the opposite. He had a large hand. He could do Scarbo, but he found it so difficult to do Ondine, which was very precise. So small hands can be developed. And if your student is young, don't push large hands too much. There has to be flexibility, but the muscles are capable of holding larger spaces.
Thank you, Norman. Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
No, I want to take this moment to really thank you for everything you've done for me since I've been with you in one form or the other since my first year at music college. And studying with you has really been, it's just changed everything about how I view music and how I practice and how I think. So really, thank you so much. And thank you for sharing your knowledge on this platform for everyone else to also take part in.
Well, I wish all your students and all the people who view the video, I hope there's something in it that they can take away and say, ah.
There's plenty in it. There's plenty.